What's going on? So in today's video, I'm having a talk to Corey, who is the founder of No Code Supply, which is a content directory that curates no-code tools, scripts, apps, all those types of things. He is also a brand designer at Webflow, and he's worked on so many other directories like the Whalesync directory that we talked about last week. He's also worked on, projects like Webflow Experts and a whole bunch of things. And Corey is one of those people who is not just a phenomenal builder. He is probably one of the best people out there when it comes to designing and building a brand around, his different products. And we just really jumped into, No Code Supply, how it was started, the tools that he's using, all of the, ways that he automates things, the way that he curates things, the way that the business works, and it was awesome. I learned so much. Just as an FYI, this was supposed to be a 40-minute call and it ended up being like an hour 15. And it was just because there was so much to talk about. Besides talking about No Code Supply and, just the directories that he's worked on, we also talked about, how the no code space is evolving, how, all of these AI tools actually fit into building out different projects. And I really wanted to pick Corey's brain on it because he comes from a visual development background like me. And obviously when you go and look around at all of these new tools that are being launched, it's kind of like, well, is it time to learn new tools? How do you start bringing all of these types of tools into your projects? And Corey had some absolutely killer insights. And so this was a phenomenal conversation. I think anyone who wants to build, a directory in general, but probably more specifically content directories, tool directories, product directories, can really learn a lot from just how Corey approaches all of this. And so despite it being a slightly longer video, it's really going to be worth your time. Now, before we get into it, an update on the MVP Labs. I know every week I'm saying, hey, we're just about to open it up. We are about to open it up. So right now, with the first few people who have started building out their directories as an MVP, we're getting the first few to the finish line. We're really about to publish a few of them. And honestly, I am stoked with where things are going with it. Just for everyone that doesn't know, the local directory playbooks is essentially a hybrid course/project management tool that you can use to build a no-code directory in the same way that I built the running directory. And the way it will work is you'll sign up, create an account, and then we'll build a custom roadmap for you where we'll be breaking down all of the individual steps that you can take in order to build a directory business with no-code tools like Webflow, Airtable, and Glide. Now, just a little bit of a preview. There'll be 8 main modules in this, and we're going to be going through the main stages of building out your directory. So first, we're going to be diving into how to build your landing page for your directory. Then I'm going to show you some, high-level strategies around keyword research and competitor analysis, that kind of stuff. Then we're going to dive into how to build dynamic listing pages. So, the pages where people can actually make a purchase or basically convert in your directory. Then we're going to go over pillar pages. Then we're going to be going over data sourcing, a whole bunch more. And the way it will work is that as you're going through different stages of your directory build, you'll unlock the next stage with new resources and so on. Now, what can you expect from these modules? So every module will have kind of like a little welcome video, but in here, there'll be individual tutorials that you can follow where you'll basically be able to go through the step-by-step process of, taking the approach that I would take for building, say, a new directory site. And so in here, you'll find a tutorial, classic walkthrough, step-by-step type of thing. And then there'll also be resources that you can use. And so, for example, I've created custom Reloom components that you'll be able to copy and paste into your project. So this one here is, for example, for a listing page. All you'll need to do is copy and paste it in there. So my goal is to obviously show you how everything works, but I do want to make sure that you get the resources and tools that will allow you to kind of move at a good clip when it comes to building out all of these pages. And so if you haven't already, what I would do is I would head over to my website, and I'll leave the link down below. And what you can do is you can just join the waitlist. Now, if you have already joined the waitlist and you're waiting for a response from me, I'm going to be sending out 10 new invites today to people who have directories that I think are a good fit for this. But very soon, this is going to be opening up to the wider community. So all you need to do is just join the waitlist. With that being said, this was like I said, a juicy long video, a lot of really useful stuff that Corey shared with us. And if you have any questions about it, just feel free to share your thoughts in the comment section down below. Other than that, I'll see you back here for the next one. Bye. Corey, man.
I'm gonna wing it all, so let's go.
All right, well, it started. Let's get into it. How's it going, man? It's been a minute.
It has been a minute. Good, yo. Mostly same old. Still Webflow by day and gallivanting on the web at night.
Nice. Yeah, I've been hearing a lot about you recently, only because I've been doing a lot of stuff with Matt and the Whalesync team, and I think every time I talk to Matt, he's like, look at all this stuff that Corey does. And I'm like, I know, Corey's like the GOAT.
Yo. Thank you. I mean, yeah, I've been jamming with them, coming up on, it was May of last year. And so, I just love that product. And then being able to help with marketing and brand and all that has been super fun on the side.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Yeah, the new brand looks awesome. And, so
thank you.
So you set up their design systems, and now I think from what I understood on my call with Matt, they now just use your design system to build a whole bunch of things like the directory that they built for all of those different no-code tools, huh?
Yeah. When the site, when I jumped in, and the brand was all just kind of, the site was a template and the brand was like kind of, just built slowly over time. I think the logo is initially from some directory online or something. And so I just came in and took a fresh look at it. We refined everything, and then, exactly, have this new system. We rebuilt the whole Webflow project from scratch as well. And so just having a fresh take at it has been super helpful to help them move quickly and then also have a more consistent, like, professional voice and brand.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, not to dwell too long on design systems, but I feel like this is something that I've noticed myself. I mean, I think over the last few years, Webflow has evolved quite a bit, but not just the tool itself, also just like the resources that people are creating in the community. And, with what you've been doing with your design system, with what Reloom's been doing, having a design system in place removes tons and tons of headaches, especially if you can't design like me. And so, I mean, it's cool to get something like that set up, and then people can just come in and build on top of what someone like you has created for them.
Totally, yeah. Both in and out of Webflow even, just even moving and creating other design deliverable assets in Figma because it's following the same language is so much faster. It's super useful. And like you said, it's hard to even keep up, though, at the same time with all the new features and stuff like that. Like, you get something done, and then you're like, now there's this whole new suite of stuff that I either could rebuild everything with or just, accept that I'm not on the latest and greatest approach, I know.
But, man. Okay. I do want to talk about directories, but we should dive into this real quickly because I feel that exact experience in every aspect of work that I do. So one, you've got the design tools that are getting so much better. I mean, when Reloom released their new style guide builder, all of my old projects that are not using the style guide builder, I'm like, do I rebuild this thing from scratch, or where do we even get started? And then you've got AI, and not just Webflow AI. It's just everything AI. It's kind of if you think 5 months ago where you were with the tools available, it's you're out of business. People are just there's just so many new tools that have come out, and it's just how do I even keep up with it? So I suppose that is actually probably a good starting point before we dive into the directories. How do you approach that? How do you approach it from the perspective of a designer, or even someone that builds out entire design systems?
I think tools in general, I've always had this mindset of I try to be while I like to try new tools, I am overly cautious about adopting new tools or a large amount of tools for anything I use. I'm ironically going to put my sock in my mouth because I'm going to show all the tools in terms of, that make up no code supply code. But whenever I can, limiting that amount of them. And then even from the mindset of like design systems and features and stuff like that, it's like there's some things that are just evergreen, right? There's some things that no matter how you set them up, you're gonna have the same set of colors or the same type system or whatever. And like even if we're gonna completely shift off of some web platform on another, those things will remain true because like those are the visual way some other person understands your company, brand, website, whatever. You know what I mean? And so like I think it's just one of those things that I don't know. I like things that are very evergreen and vanilla. Even like my way and preference of building things in Webflow has always been that. Like I'm slow to adopt the latest and greatest stuff because I just want something that's really simple and tried and true most of the time. Yeah.
Oh, 100% agree. Because, I mean, at the end of the day, the tools that you use are really just something that you can use to solve a particular problem. But if you're already solving a problem with the systems and processes if you got in place, then, you know, why try something new? I want to dive into this whole a little bit more later on. But as you know, I'm loving my directory videos at the moment, and so I'm just finding people who build directories with the tools that I use. And one of the directories that has come up a lot is No Code Supply. And so you are the brains behind it. And so let's have a little bit of a chat about No Code Supply, how it started, all that kind of stuff. While you talk through it, I'll share the screen and kind of do like a little bit of a walk through of it all.
Yeah, so I mean, history of this site actually goes back to when I discovered Webflow specifically, and even just the broader like no code space, if you will. And this would have been like 2017, 18, I think. And the company I was working at the time, the way we even found Webflow as a tool is I started helping build some microsites and just was trying to do it in as simple of a way as possible using like raw HTML, CSS, and JavaScript templates from ThemeForest. We're like, there's certainly a builder or some other tool to do this better than essentially doing that in Dreamweaver at the time. And we found Webflow in it, and then we started trying to sell or pitch Webflow as the solution to build these sites for clients of the company I worked at. And one of the things we found that was easiest to help them get on board, especially because at the time Webflow just didn't have as much awareness, was showing them examples of other companies using Webflow. So like at the time, even Dropbox and some notable companies were using Webflow. And so I actually created this like Notion. I've used Notion for, since early days. And I had this big Notion directory. I constantly added sites that were made in Webflow to it, is where it started. And then I started building Webflow sites, and then I'd have code snippets or third-party tools or other just things that help my own workflow. And I'd start storing those in these like little directories in Notion. And then in 2020, I had updated my portfolio. It was actually the portfolio that I ended up joining the team at Webflow with. And I shared links to the three. There was like a made in Webflow, resources, and code snippets, three separate databases in Notion I shared the links to on my portfolio. And I didn't really think anything of it. I just put them on there like, hey, if you're in this space, maybe these will be helpful. And then I started getting messages like semi-regularly on like LinkedIn or Twitter or whatever. And people were like, these are so great. And then in 2023... I was, I've always freelanced on the side, and I took a little bit of a break over the holidays, and I kind of just, then got an itch to like do something. And that was the idea that came out of it, was like, what if I just turned all these resources into a site and shared them that way? And like, what's funny is a lot of the intention was also selfish. I just wanted a single place I could search across all of that stuff because they were in three separate databases in Notion. And like, I was so lazy, scrappy about curating there that like there was no consistent tagging or any organization of the data in order to find something. And so I was like, this is a great opportunity to do that as well. And so I moved all the data to Airtable, and then probably spent like a month or so really going through all of it manually and tagging things and setting up categories and organizing everything. and then really using Airtable, knowing that Airtable is going to be the back end more than likely, that I would just like curate in and then sync over to Webflow to publish on a site, but also just like working through other ideas, like how could I automatically share these things to social, or eventually have a newsletter, or also do like data enrichment on it, right? Like you've already shown in some of your other videos recently, right? It's just like, so in Airtable, running scripts and automations, or doing stuff like that really helps speed up my workflow, not only for organizing the content, but also just like optimizing it, right? So like another big one, especially for all the inspo stuff, was I had a lot of screenshots. I had to take more screenshots. And so I used some external APIs at the time to go automatically take screenshots at a certain size, and then a separate one to compress everything. And then what's so funny is, fast forward to today, 2 years later, a little over 2 years since I did that and launched it, I have whittled back to far less automation, at least on the curated end of things. Like I still manually curate stuff, and I can show that workflow just using the Airtable web clipper extension today. But like I don't do the auto screenshotting or any of that anymore, just because like it was one of those things you start to realize that if there's enough inconsistency where you're redoing it manually anyways, it's just faster to just do it manually on the fly. So anyways, it's been a wild process, and just really fun project to continually add to. And then the last thing I'd say too is like when I first started it, I was working with a friend, Max Lind, who was also at Webflow at the time, lives here in Iowa where I'm at, and was into curating and had good design sense and all that. So he actually helped get a lot of stuff going early on. And we had this broader vision too of like no-code supply code being this like higher level brand to launch sub products under. So like there's a framework called Mast for Webflow that is all launched under No Code Supply Co's brand, and like some other small things that most of which aren't even launched because I've started an idea and then don't finish it. And then the other thing too is both Max and I are parents of 2 little kids, and so we don't have a ton of extra time, and so we had this like maybe TMI, too vulgar explanation of like, we won't run this unless we can run it from the toilet, was the silly expression. The main point being like, we want to be able to curate from our phone. If we find something, you just drop a URL and an Airtable record, and it automatically enriches and all that and goes live. Again, that was the dream. We got really close, but I think just for consistency, I still end up doing a lot of it like directly on my laptop or whatever. But I think the thing that has held true is that it's still easy for me to curate. Every single week I'm adding stuff, but I'm just doing it as I come across them. I don't really carve out time necessarily. So anyways, very long-winded on the history, but
love it.
Yeah.
No, so I wanted to say on the history, I actually remember your Notion databases, specifically your scripts. I remember when that came out, that got passed around a lot. I know that a lot of people were using that Notion database, and so I mean, it's awesome that like that is like the starting point for all of this, because realistically speaking, if you want to build something that people find useful and that they'll use, then it will work in anything. If it's actually truly useful, people will copy and paste things out of a Google Sheet. Really,
right.
It's just like this step here makes it easier for people to discover it, and then it also just looks visually more appealing.
Totally.
I love that. Also, one thing that I'll say on the curation side of things, I mean, one of the things that always stands out about sites like No Code Supply is the actual effort that goes into curation. Because obviously, not having to undo things is one thing, but I have found that whenever you find sites that are curated nicely, they become a real go-to source for things over and over and over again.
Yeah.
Once it gets to a point where it's kind of anything and everything's on there, it's just like it kind of diminishes the overall quality of your kind of directory site. So man, love it. Okay, look, let's just dive into the good stuff. Let's dive into the tools. Let's dive into these like workflows. I just need to see what you're up to.
Sounds good. Yeah, I can share my screen. Maybe let's run through whole gamut of stuff here and try to, yeah, might have a little inception first. I was going to show this first off, was like, this is the original directory that, you know, again, still had screenshots and stuff like that. Like you said, the other one is in here somewhere, the code snippets. I don't even remember. Maybe here's resources. At some point I started compiling them. Yeah, just so you can see the back.
So even that looks just absolutely, even like Notion does a good job for like an MVP, just making it look good, you know?
Yeah,
like, especially if you have like tagging and you have nice thumbnails and stuff, they allow you to do quite a bit, eh?
Yeah, and filtering, searching, all that comes out of the box. And again, like I could do it back then from my phone, right? So like that just made it a lot more realistic to actually stick with it. And so yeah, these serve their purpose. Now everything lives in Airtable. What's funny is you're also probably part of the reason I'm such an Airtable junkie these days, is just seeing all the stuff you've done way back with Unicorn Factory and all that, and even more recently, and just how capable Airtable is, not just from a data perspective, but automations and scripts. Oh my gosh, like I never really used Airtable scripts until No Code Supply Co, and I'm like fully hooked on just how capable that makes it. And then like I think what's funny is in that as well, like, and I can even speak to that. Like if I open up extensions here, you can see I have, wait, is there some missing? Maybe I'm thinking of.
Make sure to not expose any API keys if you're going to show me scripts.
Yeah. No worries. I won't.
I'm not editing this video that much.
Yeah. What's funny is maybe is this not refreshed? Like I used to have a lot more. Oh, wait. Here we go.
Yeah.
So I have a separate like group here. LOL, there's one right there. And another. So you might need to blur those points.
Free API access for everyone.
Yeah, so you can see I have a gamut of like get screenshots, get metadata, check image size and compress, get YouTube thumbnail, check image type, generate AI descriptions, like these are all just scripts. And the main amazing part too, if you haven't used those, and then I can get off this, is like Aaron Kornbuilt, shout out to Aaron, was at Airtable, and then I, between him and some other learnings, I found like the main amazing part about these is that you can write them in a way that you don't have to mess with the JavaScript. You can just expose these fields that are dynamic to your fields in Airtable. And like for me, it was just game changing of like seeing that, oh my gosh, they're really showing the key. So I need to like, I'll just reset that. In fact, that key's probably actually dead. Anyways, here nor there. So that was huge. All the way that data is like referenced and whatnot was big for me as well in organizing things. The other meat of this that really makes it possible that I mentioned is, Whalesync. We were talking a little bit about at the beginning anyways, but really the fact that this two-way syncs all of my data from Airtable to Webflow and in real time essentially is huge. Like one of the ways that I use that, for example, is every item that gets curated has a date, of course, when it's created, but I actually also dynamically sort items, and this works well from the case that like if I want to feature things, right? So like you can see there's this column right here that is featured backdate. And so the way that I can control specifically where items are showing up like this as featured or partner Whalesync, I'm able to use Whalesync as a partner. And so, it just saves me money, but I can help advertise for them, or some of the other tools, JetBoost, Audienceful that we use. These all need to show above the first pagination. And it's tricky because like, yes, there's dynamic ways I could inject them on the front end, but I wanted it to be a bit organic because there is constant content being added or items being added to the database. And so ideally I was like, it'd be fun if they just like were always in slightly different positions based on how active I am on any given week. And so that is how that works, right? Where like this is a formula that is backdating from the current date based on a number. And so it just allowed these, anytime these automatically change, Airtable detects that change, even though it's from a formula, and then goes and updates it in Webflow. So this is actually the date field that's setting the sort. Sorry, a bit in the weeds, but it's just one of those.
Love that.
Yeah,
this is actually what I love about this explanation is so many people always ask me, why do you even need to use something like Airtable? And I think this illustrates the exact reason why, because
so many reasons. Yeah,
we all love Webflow, and obviously we're not going to start trashing the Webflow CMS while you're here. But a lot of the stuff, like there are some limitations in terms of what you can do natively inside the Webflow CMS that can then be solved for with Airtable, because you can set up all sorts of like nice formulas and functions and stuff like that. So this is actually a phenomenal explanation for how you would use it in a real practical sense. So
totally. And there's just so many things too. Like I was even just the simple idea of like, I want to append a URL parameter to every single link. Like, cool. Yeah. 2 seconds to do it in an Airtable formula. Yeah. And like the other thing too is like, yes, you can do a lot of stuff on the front end with JavaScript, and yes, supposedly Google, will index your site after JavaScript runs. That's again in the weeds, but the main point being, when you're doing it in somewhere like Airtable, you're doing it at the data level. So anything that goes over to Webflow in terms of things like I just showed with the dynamic link or the sort, you're doing it on server side, right? So from an SEO perspective, all that content is exactly as it should be when it renders. You don't have to have all this extra code and stuff on your website to manipulate stuff for whatever, dynamic dates or linking or whatever. So yeah, I think just the other main thing too is organizing. Yeah, in Webflow natively, like it's impossible. You don't have any concept of views. Bulk editing is like so painful. There's just like so many reasons. Yeah, and you can see all the different random things we have in here, and then even like the way I'm actually using Whalesync technically is one way for most things, just so that I can like have specific views that are controlling like when something's actually published. So the sync is looking at this view instead of everything. And then I, have another place where I can see what's ready and maybe not out there and why, things that are archived, all that kind of stuff. And so the organization and amount of time it saves you just curating is massive. Yeah. I'm trying to think what else would be interesting. Yeah, here's some of the automations for things. Again, you can see some of them off, like the take screenshot was an Airtable script, or scraping metadata was an Airtable script. But again, these two things as an example can be solved with the web clipper, which I can show in a second. There's other things like, pulling some forms through, and then we do automation for at least social posting. So, these other tables here are all just organizing, right? So we have groups, types, industries, and tags, and those are all associated to items. Collections it was more of an idea we haven't executed on quite as much. Blog also would love to do more of. That is one of those things that takes time. And I'm really passionate about, like, if I start doing editorial content, I want to make sure it's like high quality, not just like, to your point earlier of like, directories get so, if they're overly automated, it's very obvious, and the content curation and quality is just not there, and they're just less likely to be used. And so I just want to be cautious about like pumping content out just for the sake of it. The newsletter is one that's been candidly hard to stick with because it's still somewhat of a manual process, but if I would love to fully automate this at one point, just like a weekly dump of all the latest items. And this was one where I fell into, I had a setup going with MailerLite, and then I didn't want to pay for MailerLite. And so I whittled back into, ended up using, we still use Audienceful, but unfortunately there's not like a programmatic way to create and send emails through Audienceful, but it's just a very nice editing experience in the meantime. And then, where I was going is this. So we have this tweets table, and this automatically runs from an automation. We'll go create the latest item that hasn't been tweeted, and then just uses formulas and things to create an example tweet, and whether or not it has a handle or not. And then the original goal, to my point earlier, I like less tools whenever possible. And so I was trying to do all of this straight from automations in Airtable. But just when the Twitter API changed and some of that, like I ended up for better or worse, having to use Zapier to then run Twitter posts through Buffer, LinkedIn, and then that's it for now. And then updating Airtable back. So that's just a little glimpse of that flow. I think something else that I want to get to in here is find a way to use video more. I mean, like, I think we've definitely noticed that you don't get a ton of social engagement on automated social posts, and especially when, although they have an image, they're not like the most engaging like a video would be, right? And so I don't know where I'm going with this other than no code supply co. So you can just see, our posts are all images, very simple, still have a link, but lots of room for optimizing here. So
man, I love it. Inspirational. So we haven't. Okay, so the whole social posting workflow. That's one that I haven't like talked about much on this channel, but that's a hack. That's a hack.
Yep.
I did it for a while with the freelancers on the Unicorn Factory.
Yeah.
And it's just like you've got like a social media person working for you. But I do agree with what you say. It's like, I mean,
I think most of the social tools too are also smart enough to know that when posts are automated, they downgrade them in terms of engagement. And so you can see a lot of our stuff gets like a couple likes or something. And like, granted, we don't have a massive following on Twitter, X, but it's still, I agree. It's like, it's not the same quality as like doing it directly. And especially, again, I think I've seen other directories in this space like Godly and some of them. It used to be like top result all the time. Maybe Godly's not a thing anymore.
Have to pay for the premium subscription if you want to be found.
This is the site I'm referring to. Every single capture they have is a recording of the site, which is so
Wait, is
rad.
it a GIF? Is it a GIF?
I think on the site they're videos, I want to say, but maybe not. I don't know.
Wow. How do they get it to load so fast?
Oh, it's not Webflow, that's for sure. It's Next, so it's essentially React.
Yeah.
So
damn.
I think just like showing motion for these kinds of like inspiration captures is massive. So it'd be rad to get there one day, but 100% to your point of even like performance and stuff is always top of mind for me. This serves the purpose in the meantime.
Wow. Well, I had some questions about data and content management, but I feel like we've just just covered all of that. Okay, one thing that I do want to talk about that I think what you're doing is really cool is the use of Airtable scripts. So first question that I have on this is, besides Whalesync and Zapier in absolute like edge cases, is your way of automating using scripts?
Yes. Yeah. Especially, I would say I use these the most. That's why I was like, wait, where are they? I used these the most early on when I was like initially doing that big pass of moving everything from Notion over. Then it was massive. And then there's still things too that are handy, like this one, the YouTube thumbnails. Like sometimes I'll curate YouTube videos that are really relevant. And I have this same script in an automation, so it usually works automatically. But like, I think I have a view in here, right? Automate YouTube thumbnail. And so this automatically has anything comes in that's, the link type is YouTube and there isn't a screenshot, then cool. I can just open this up and hit run and it will go get that screenshot for me. And so, yes, whenever possible, doing them either manually this way or scripts directly in an automation is just super useful, mainly out of that point of like, I don't want to use other tools if I can help it. Both from the like cost savings perspectives, the more tools you use, the more expensive it gets. And just the stability of it. I think the problem I've always had with Zapier is just, for whatever reason, maybe I'm doing it wrong, but I just always have like unexpected errors and stuff happen in Zapier that just gets like exhausting. And I've had a lot better experience with Airtable over the last few years with automations just being very reliable and robust. And, at the end of the day, since you can do, most things in JavaScript and you can run most JavaScript in Airtable, not all JavaScript, but it really opens up what's possible, right? And I think what's so ironic too in the automation front and Airtable scripts is like you mentioned earlier that my code snippet directory way back was helpful, and like I used to be so like excited about saving a code snippet just to save myself time.
Yep.
And then now fast forward today with AI, it's like almost useless because it's, I think in a lot of ways faster for me to just open up Cursor or Claude or whatever directly and ask it to do the thing I need, because there's always going to be some contextual part. And you can see even in the code category or group in No Code Supply Co. Ironically, there is this one script right here, but most things in this category now are like libraries and stuff that I curate. A lot of the snippets, if we go further down, are older, just because, again, like these are all high level ways to do stuff, but they're never going to be the exact thing that you need in your exact use case. So you're just better off to ask AI, right?
Yep.
And all this to say too, I think that's where back when even I was creating the scripts and stuff in Airtable, like it was all finding references out there, trying to, hack it together with my own limited JavaScript knowledge. Like I'm, can make my way around JavaScript, but I'm certainly no just like super pro with it. Mm-hmm. And fast forward today, now, like, if AI even has the context of Airtable scripts, like, I think somewhere in here I have a Airtable custom GPT that somebody made. I don't remember if I stored it in here. That is like, yeah, custom GPT that's already set up to write Airtable scripts. So it has all the context of what can be done, and it's so useful. So yeah.
Same. I know which one you mean. I'll link it down below. I mean, you know what I've started doing is I don't just go and copy, like I go to like Airtable to the Airtable API docs, and what they do really good is they actually just give you the entire like preview of what your specific base will look like with fields. I'm just like copy and pasting things into ChatGPT and just telling it to do this, this, and this. I do the same thing with Glide. I do this. It's actually kind of wild what you can do these days without actually needing to know how to code at all. With that being said, I do want to say that it's not like you don't know how to code though. So I mean, I suppose you can use like Airtable scripts because maybe it's not like the most efficient way to for you to write a script from scratch because of who you are with things. But like if you look at a script, you know exactly what is happening. You understand the error messages and all those types of things. So
totally. Or even to your point, like I have always loved how Airtable has the documentation like right here, and especially the examples is like, oh, I need to find something, and they have these examples. I know enough about JavaScript that I can like read most of this and understand what's going on. Yeah. Especially like to the point of even feeding stuff to AI, like, oh my gosh, it's hard to even explain if, the more you know, and therefore the more context and explanation you can thoroughly give AI, the far better and faster you will get quality outputs, right? Like, and so even, I think that's a very valid point that like, because I understand a good amount of this, it also helps me move quicker even when I do ask AI to do something for me with it, right? Because I know what to ask kind of thing. So yeah.
And I mean, even just like with these types of use cases, there are like levels to it, because I think we use it in a very similar way. I mean, I use it to like write scripts all the time, and you can get them up and running within seconds. If you know how to read API docs, you'll know how to get it up and running in seconds. But then there's also the level. So this is maybe like a little bit of a side topic, but I mean, you may have seen that nowadays people are just trying to like jump straight into AI. So like when it comes to, for example, building a directory, even looking at tools like this is not even really something that they're considered. They just want to like go into like Claude and just say, build me a directory, and then kind of let that happen. But I mean, I've tried that. It's not as simple as you think it is when the context gets as big as that, because you're like, wait, what am I actually looking at here? Have you kind of experimented with those tools? And
like Bolt or Lovable or I have not deeply vibe coded, I think is the expression these days, right? And I think a lot of that ironically is out of the thing I said earlier around like I'm usually overly cautious about adopting new tools because I've just been there a few times on the like, I'm just going to go down this hole and see what happens. And I either end up spending a lot of time on something I don't actually use, or I am maybe have some inherent fear about leveraging something without understanding enough that I could expose myself to risk, like exposing API keys on a stream. Like, no, but the real example there is like a lot of them will be like, yeah, spin up a Supabase database. Like, okay, cool. And then next thing I know, like, am I now creating an app that's capturing user data? And then am I GDPR compliant on that? And then if I'm taking payments, how am I handling taxes of the payments? Like, you know better than I, especially running fully monetized things like Unicorn Factory, that like there is a lot of layers to that stuff that AI is never gonna. It'll help you build the thing, but it's never gonna tell you or warn you or like you could all of a sudden be in quite a tough spot. And let alone the legal side, the unknown expense side, right? Like we've all seen the random Twitter posts of like somebody that was using Cloudflare for free and then all of a sudden gets like a $30,000 bill because their site went viral and have hundreds of thousands of users signing up, or they get DDoSed or whatever, right? Like it's so funny because I think that all of that extra stuff is what's ironically always drawn me to things like Webflow and Airtable, is that like I don't have to worry about hosting and infrastructure and all that. Like most of it at least feels like it's safe and scalable in a way that like I can understand, so I don't get myself in a bad spot. All that to be said, again, I use AI to write code daily. Like my current addiction, I used to use a lot Slater app for Webflow. I really love that. A year or so ago, it's still great, don't get me wrong, but honestly my current stuff is just Cursor. And just because of the efficiency of Cursor, like reviewing multiple files and making updates in multiple places, and like you can really nitpick what you approve and what you don't, like that experience is just so incredibly fast. And just high quality. My gosh, the models in the last few months, it's like mind bending to me how much quicker it's gone from like, taking still hours of prompting back and forth to now, like, if you explain enough, you can really get core functionality done in like one prompt a lot of the times. It's wild.
100%. Like especially in web. So I'm with you. I mean, like, there's so many tools that I've been like using religiously for like certain use cases. I mean, like thin sweep filters is one, and then there was like I don't know, a few years ago where like, there'd be like a micro app for everything, but nowadays it's kind of just like, I mean, like, I'll be honest with you, my process is inspect the source code of my Webflow page, copy and paste the entire body, throw it into ChatGPT, and then I just say, can you make me like a search filter for this particular thing here? And it's kind of wild. And the thing about it is like, even thinking about, if this is what we can do now, what will the next few years look like? Right. Actually, before we dive into more of that, I actually wanted to circle back to one of the key points that you made around like the security around some of the no-code apps. You know what so funnily enough, this is something that I just saw trending on X maybe like a month or so ago, where like people were like vibe coding in public, and then like all the developers came and like deleted their databases because they were exposing their like Supabase API keys in the code. Not that it's funny. It kind of is funny, but not that it's funny, but it's like the problem is not knowing what you don't know. So it's like, if you don't know that, people can access certain parts of your apps without even knowing, then like you don't know. Like, it's like, how can you do anything about it? And this is and it's exactly like you said. All of those things is what originally drew me to something like Webflow or Airtable, because I actually don't need to stress about that stuff as much. I mean, like, there are definitely ways that things can go wrong, but I suppose because the end user of those tools are people who do not code, they take care of all of that for you, which gives you a certain degree of safety.
Totally.
But yeah,
It's
yeah.
wild. Yo, it's wild. Like even I remember on that maybe that same trending week or whatever, Lovable, which is one of these tools on their own, they launched, I forget what it was now. Oh, it was like a LinkedIn, like it would create a website based on you putting your LinkedIn URL or to your profile and create you a website from it or something. And in that source code, they expose an API key and like it blew up, you know, and it's just like I think the other thing that comes to mind in all this, and I was trying to just think of what it's called, that I watched. There's another tool. It's ironically more in the back end space, and I shared it on No Code Supply Code. But let me see if I can track it down while I'm saying this. Is that it's an AI type tool centered around really handling like back end scripts for you. Or like what I was excited about is like there's times where you do have things like this. You need to get data from an external API, but you don't want to expose your API key in the front end, and so you need some kind of like middleware to mask that. Oh, here I just found it. Val.town. Maybe I'll share my screen again just to have something more visual to look at than me. Sorry to jump around.
No, I love it.
I saw an interview with the founder of this tool, Val.town, and like what this is almost like CodePen meets like backend like middleware. Like it has AI called Townie, you know, that'll help you write scripts, but then you can just like create an endpoint, you know, that you can go hit and add cores, restrictions and all that in. But it's for fairly low cost and all that. And anyways, in this interview, the founder mentioned that like the problem isn't code. And I just empathize with this so much. Like I actually really love writing code and messing with code. The thing I despise, you know, hopefully not offending some developers out there, is all the tools we've built in traditional development around it. Like the fact that I still need to go into terminal to like do all these commands and stuff, even if I'm using cursor or whatever, and like git and compiling and bundling and all these other things that are always sitting in between your idea and something going live. And how tools like Webflow or whatever have made that so much more simple, yes. But then, like you said, there's this whole other side of like, it also takes care of all these other security, et cetera, things that you don't have to worry about, right? And like, I really, even in the mindset of like, what's AI and all this space going to look like, you know, 5 years from now, in some ways, like, that's what I'm hopeful for is like, I don't think code's going anywhere. Like, yes, AI is just getting better and better at writing it for us, but like, hopefully there's just more tools like this even that like still are based in code, but you just click a button and it goes live. You don't have this whole string of other complexity to even understand, or when something breaks, then you're now down another hole of troubleshooting through prompting. Like, I don't know. I digress.
No, I am 100% with you. You know, so you know that Reusable released their React library, and I was like, let's try and see if I can actually set up like a website using their React library just by like, I don't know how to, I mean, I feel like I say so many nice things about Reusable that I can say this, but I had no idea what I was doing. And I was using ChatGPT, and I was like going through the step, I couldn't get any components in there. I'm like, there's so many in between steps. And I think really those parts of the web development or app development process is what takes so much more time. So I'm a huge fan of middleware. I mean, I've got an entire channel about middleware essentially. So, but I agree. It's because you need to kind of understand the purpose of each stage of the process. And I'm sure developers will look at this and be like, obviously that's why we have Git and this and that. But it's kind of when you come from like a more of a visual development background, it's like the concept of those things means nothing to you, you know? Because essentially I've learned I've learned software development or like the concept. I've learned like automation for tools like Zapier. I've learned like, even if you think about HTML, CSS, I've learned that through Webflow and stuff like that. And so it comes from like a different angle of learning, which means that you kind of, the way that you adopt certain tools is kind of aligns to how you kind of approach building things. And
100%. Yes, 100%. And it's just, the other thing that's interesting is to see some of the tools like most recently Lovable that are AI based and prompt based, but now they're adding more visual editing back in, because like we are inherently visual beings. Like no matter your learning path, like more often than not, granted, there's people that can't see all that and operate a computer other ways, but like there is still that connection between like seeing something and visually editing it quickly instead of asking AI to do it when it is simple stuff.
Yep.
And balancing those ends is what's so tricky. Yeah, it's super fascinating, and I completely agree that the build end the learning end is huge. It's even recently, Webflow launched their MCP this week.
Yep. So
which, MCP, I'm no expert. My limited understanding though is like this is almost like we showed the custom GPT for writing Airtable scripts, right? It is a whole bunch of data and instruction on exactly how to work with a specific thing you give that instruction to an AI model, right? Like Claude or OpenAI or whatever. And then I've seen people post it on LinkedIn using that, where now what made me think of, as you mentioned, automation and all that. Now, instead, they can just like turn on or add the MCP to Claude, and then add Claude like, hey, go write me a blog post about this topic and then post it for me. And it's not only going to write it and all that, but because of the MCP, it also knows exactly how to go get an API key and integrate with your Webflow CMS and then go post that thing for you. And so like, in a realm that is automation, it's just now prompt based and solely through code and not visual, not like some kind of an interface. So it's like weird in some ways to see how that's turned to like, that's in a lot of ways faster than spinning up Zapier or some other tool like that, at least for some niche content, niche use cases.
Yeah, when I see like some of the NCP stuff, it kind of what it reminds me of, or what, I mean, again, I don't know that much about the technicalities of it, so I might get completely roasted over this, but it's kind of like setting up something in Zapier or in make.com, but instead of having to configure your app, it just does it for you by you telling it what you want it to do.
Right.
I mean, I think it's cool. I mean, I'll be honest. I kind of, when I look at tools like Lovable and stuff like that, it kind of takes the joy out of creating something out of it a little bit. I'm just kind of I mean, I think that the main selling point is like, hey, you don't need to know anything and you can build something in minutes. Just tell me what you want and I'll build you a massive business.
Yeah.
And I mean, it's obviously super impressive what they can do, but I kind of feel like the joy of making stuff is kind of taken out of it. And I don't know. I suppose everyone's got their own angle to it, but like it's, I don't know. I personally, I think the key thing that I'm trying to say is like, I do love myself some, I do love the tinkering, so we can kind of, so it's kind of
100%.
like,
Yeah. And I think we'll just see that evolve through generations. You know what I mean? Like even just the fact that like my young kids, when they were grown, are probably not going to know any different, that AI has always been here. And so like, how will they approach creating things? I don't know if they'll be creating websites. Maybe websites won't even be a thing, not to go down that hole, but it's so wild.
Man, Corey, I mean, I feel like we couldn't keep going and going and going. My initial YouTube title for this video is going to be how Corey created a digital directory with thousands of products, and now we've just talked about all of this.
True.
So
it's all under the guise of like creating a directory, right? You can use AI however and you want in that process, and it's quite the spectrum.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Well, let's circle back to this directory because
totally. Yeah,
I can already anticipate questions that people are going to have about no code supply specifically, and I can
yeah,
anticipate them because those are the exact questions I have.
yeah.
So the first thing that I want to talk about is just visually, your
Mm.
directories that you have worked on are just like the cream of the crop. Like, I
Oh,
mean, it's the Whalesync site, but also you worked on Webflow experts, this, party trick. I mean, there's
yeah,
like
yeah.
a gazillion of them, and like every single one of them just looks so good. And I think the first design related question that I wanted to ask you is
Mm.
your homepage has the nicest looking grid. How do you make this happen with the CMS?
Oh yeah. So it's all CSS grid. And then the key is there is a spec, a part, it not, you can use it in Webflow, but this is just CSS grid can do this, that there's a way you can auto fit. So that way you can actually create this kind of like metro view, and things fit in and then kind of remain in an aspect ratio. And then like if you scroll up just a little bit in the top right, you can toggle to the list view where it says layout. Yeah, yeah, yeah. And so like this is also just CSS that changes. A class gets added, and then that's just altering the styling of the CSS grid, for the whole because it's just one big collection list. Um, that's actually like another, I guess, semi interesting point in here is that when I was initially building this, I knew I wanted these main groups of items, right? Again, like inspo, code, etc. And on one hand, it was like, is that weird to mix those kinds of items? I don't know. Here or there, I wanted to do it. And I was struggling on like, should I do separate URLs for those, especially from an SEO perspective? Like, should it be .co/code/ slug of item, but instead I ended up doing them all just as one massive collection list. And it's just the URL slug is just /item, and mainly so for performance reasons, just so it could be one collection and then filter and search on top of all of it. And because I tried using like FinSuite Nest and some other stuff to like combine multiple ones, or actually, sorry, FinSuite Combine, and it just like erodes at 2,000 items. Like it just gets so slow.
Yeah.
And so I was really knowing this would grow. I really wanted to make it performant. And so, sorry, a little off the tangent from the
No.
design, but that was a lot of the things that was on my mind as I was building it. And then again, the search filter, I ended up using JetBoost just for performance reasons. And you can click the little plus next to the search bar, and that expands even like if you change code back to all, it will show like all of the sorry, like the little code drop down to the right of the search bar.
Oh,
Yeah,
yeah.
go back to
Yep.
all. Then it will show all the filters. And so like
Yeah.
this was another like challenge I had in the design was I was like, I want the search and filter to be like uber minimal, and always stick with you. And so what it's doing is if you start searching something in there like directory, it's searching not just the items on the page, it's also filtering and searching through the tags and industries themselves. So that's why there's nothing there. And so that was like again something you can't really do with FinSuite attributes. You can do it with JetBoost, and ironically, there's still like a little bit of bugs in that I had to use a little extra custom JavaScript to solve for. But again, all of that came from this inspiration from a design perspective that I just wanted like hyper minimal grid that you focused on the visual, and then the search was always with you as this kind of singular component that I could use from across different types of pages.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's interesting.
And plus, you do have like sub CMS pages for
Yep.
your different tags. So,
Yep,
like, if
exactly.
someone searches for directory, like, there's a dedicated page to it.
Exactly, yeah. And like just for simplicity, most of them are all still just the grid, but yeah. And then there is relationships too on the item pages. So if you scroll down, there's like a more items, or sorry, yeah, related items first. Those are like directly related. Like I intentionally associated Webflow to this,
Okay.
or GStep to this. But then if you keep going, there's like the other, or sorry, similar items that at least falls in the guise of like, this is going to filter at some to be items that are most similar in category and tag and all that kind of stuff.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah.
Oh, so good. I mean, honestly, so good.
Thank you.
Yeah, I mean, I just think that like just the layout of this is just like so on point, and just that
Mm,
I think what I like about this is like you, you're I fully agree with you. You need to like balance the your SEO strategies with the overall user experience and performance on your site, because you can really overdo it. I mean I've done
totally.
it like plenty of times, but I see that being like one of the things where people are like trying to over optimize it, and it just kind of creates all sorts of logistic issues with scaling your site in the future. So
Yeah.
yeah, I really think that you've nailed it here.
Thank you. I can share again and show even like some of the inspo sites that might be helpful for people that are trying to narrow down that direction. Like even this Figma file is just kind of my dumping ground with the brand and all that. So early on, knowing I want to do something that was like this idea of like a toolbox for the mark and all that, and find General Sans is a free font that I liked and came across, and so like that was some of the initial brand stuff, and then the site itself on the point of the grid. The main two inspos was this site, which is down. Last I looked, it was called goods.wtf, and it had this grid, right? And so what you said earlier about like I literally just inspected the source page or the code of the site to try to figure out how they were doing this grid, and then kind of like reverse engineered it to see if I could pull it off in Webflow. So that was a big one as far as like how the cards looked and some of that. And then the color palette and all that, this site I think is still up, read.cv. Um, I just loved the balance of the gray tones here. That like I'm just a big believer that like UI and even brands are differentiated in their like appearance of quality or refinement at like such a granular level that it's sometimes hard to describe, right? Like there's a billion sites that have done different shades of grays and outlines like this, but just in this combination, this just felt interesting and right to me. And so this was a big inspo as well. And so even taking this and evolving, all my grays are a little bit like warmer, and then again using a different grid style. Yeah, these two. I'm curious. Oh, whoa! Maybe it was just down last time I looked. Looks like this is still up. Maybe it's goods.so now. But again, super minimal. I just loved how clean this was, and I was like, I want this, but like for websites, right? And so you can see a lot of the designs and stuff. Oh, this was fun too. Arrival is like an EV company. This was their menu design that was really rad. And so like just taking all that inspo, right? And then I was doing different mocks and combining things. Here you can see I'm like getting into some of the search and filter explorations. I was like, should it be at the top? Should it be like this, almost like you have in Safari? And then at some point got into the like filter thing, or sorry, the bottom fix thing. So yeah, and again, inspo, I think this is from awards, has a similar like bottom bar. And so it's just the classic, like no idea is original anymore, y'all. It's like how you find them and combine them is what makes it interesting. Oh, this was a fun detail too that I never ended up building, but had this idea. I feel like I mocked this up right here. I had this idea that what about like if I use local storage or cookies to anytime a user came to the page, I mark items that I know were on the page when they came, and then that way next time they come, if there's any items that weren't there before, I can surface those as like new, right? So like it's the classic. I am one that if I open my phone, I have to clear those little orange or those little red badges on my apps, right? And so like it was this classic, like how do I expose that desire to like always come and see what's new? And so yeah, still haven't figured out a way or really revisited that, but a lot of the behind the scenes design stuff here. And then also even like getting into other things here too. I've just always tried to be very restrictive on what type I use and all that, so it just feels very similar and cohesive. And then what's fun is you can see that run into like Mast, the landing page for that. All uses a lot of the same core brand and elements, but then has a few additions that are specific to Mast. Since it's for Webflow, we're like recreating the little tag things here, or a behind the scenes one is this was another sub product I've yet to finish, and it's I have a bunch of Airtable scripts that I've written, and I want to just start sharing them. And I'm like, what if I do another little sub brand called Base Scripts or something? I was trying to think of a name, and so I was gonna do some kind of landing page like this, right? That's just talking about, again, the main idea being that if you remember when I was showing the Airtable scripts in there, that they have those fields exposed.
Yep.
So the idea being that you could copy paste these into Airtable and you never have to touch the code. All you're doing is just pasting it, assigning which table, base, and field, and then running it, right? So again, it's just been really fun to have this like base level brand that at the end of the day is very simple, like a font, a couple colors, and a logo, and then trying to see how much I can do in that confinement, right?
Oh my God, I feel like I've just gotten like a gazillion new ideas of things that I want to do. But hey, Corey,
yeah.
I've got two more main things I want to talk to you about. The first thing is just in terms of how your directory works as a business. So, are you monetizing your site? How do you monetize your site? And you know, yeah, just maybe like talk us through how you approach that side of things.
Yeah. Oh, so high level, when I first created it, the idea was like, I'm not even gonna think about monetization. I'm just gonna like, I just want something out there again for, if no other reason, I don't care if anybody uses it. I'm just gonna use it to find stuff that I've saved.
Yep.
And then, you know, you start racking up expenses of tools and all that. And we've gotten enough like sponsorships with Whalesync and an Audienceful that they just let us use their tool for free. And we are advertising for them across 2,000 plus pages.
Yep.
And so I feel like they're getting the good end of the deal there. And then at one point, if you go up to the top in the menu, there is a, top left corner and click menu. And then shop. In the on the left side there. Yep. At one point we also had this is now just curated products, but there was two other sections here. We had merch through that was like through Printful and Webflow e-commerce, and then we also had where we were going to start doing templates, so like Notion templates, Airtable templates, that kind of thing.
Yep.
And like at the end of the day, again, that just sounded fun, and even the merch, I love merch, and so I'm like, why not? But I never really focused on it being a huge way to make money, but maybe just a few bucks here and there. And then, you know, we really didn't see a lot of traction there, and it was one of those things where it's starting to bleed in the territory. This is a lot of work to maintain, or if somebody has a question, or like it's getting into the red zone of like, I don't have time for this, and I don't want to get distaste for you running this site because of something that I've created in it, solely for the sake of making a little money. So all that to say, if you go back to the menu at the top, the only monetization we do at the moment is sponsor. So on the right side below about, if you go to sponsor, we do, you can advertise with us. We don't have, however, you can see some high level metrics there. We do not have massive amounts of traffic compared to a lot of directories. And so those that have advertised with us are looking at a very niche audience, like is No Code Supply Co., right? A lot of creator types or people looking to solve problems with tools like these. Also like new tools that are coming into the no-code space in general have reached out. And so that is really our only means at the moment. I've considered too, like Google AdSense and stuff like that. I just like am not an expert in that and haven't really done enough of the research to know, again, do we even have enough traffic to make any more than a few pennies off that? And I think the underlying thing there is I just always want No Code Supply Co. to feel interesting and inspiring and high quality. And it's really easy to just start slapping ads everywhere. And it feels like the whole thing is just a, gimmick to get your eyeballs on these ads so I can make a buck. And it's like, I've always been very cautious in that realm. And again, I think like the other side of we do, since we have some like partnerships with tools, and we can use them for free, there is some monetary value there.
Yep.
And then lastly, I would say the only thing we've considered, actually, if you go back to the menu or to the bottom and go to the About page, and then scroll down, I think it's still up. Keep going. we have some kind of mantra. Supplies is like, here's all the tools we actually use to build no code or run no code
Oh, yeah.
supply code. Might be interesting for some. And then just below this section, you can see I have MailerLite there and didn't end up using that. Look at that!
Hey, that guy.
Yo, all the early knowledge you shared, I'm telling you, learned so much. I mean, even that one right there, automating social posts, is probably that same strategy you've shared before.
Yeah, that was just during the start of the ChatGPT era. I was going a little bit crazy with all my tutorials there.
You know, so many good examples though. And then yeah, if you keep going below this, plans right here. So you can see like we did some of these, the store, but then the next idea that we haven't done is members and maybe like a community.
Yep.
Where it's like, but I think again, while I'm still considering it like actively, especially like probably leaning towards using Outseta to do it if I do, is I'm approaching with caution from the lens of not overcommitting and creating something that I can't follow through with and ensure it retains quality.
Yep.
And so I think if anything, that's what's giving me pause, right?
Yep.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm 100% with you, because it's when you enter that realm, that's really where you need to start delivering. That's exactly what I experienced with the Unicorn Factory. So, I mean, when I started the Unicorn Factory, I think I set it up with the exact same intention as you. And then I was like, hey, the costs are starting to add up. You know, let's put some form of like some plan in there that people can subscribe for. And like the moment people hit that buy button, something changes. You have to deliver. And so for me, it was just like, okay, I now need to like actually invest in ads and all that kind of stuff. It's kind of wild. And so, I mean, I 100% understand where you come from when it comes to like just wanting to manage, you know, what your business or your directory will turn into once you make that decision.
Right.
Have you smashed in any affiliate links? So like when tools add their like...
We probably have like, man, I would say maybe 15, 12 affiliate links.
Yep.
Again, though, haven't seen much back out of those. Simply, I think it's just lack of audience, right? Like around 10,000 views a month. Come to find out is like pennies compared to like a lot that I've seen out there that are getting hundreds of thousands of views a month regularly. You know, we just aren't that big. And so, yeah, of the affiliate links I do, Fathom is one that we've gotten a little bit of kickback off, and we use Fathom like legitimately for our analytics. It's great. But yeah,
I mean, banner ads like AdSense and like affiliate links, you do need to generate volume. I mean, like I feel like I get a bit of affiliate links through all of my like YouTube videos and stuff like that. But like when I set up Book Notes, which was that little project that I set up to like do tutorials and stuff like that, I was just like, I'm just gonna like put Amazon affiliate links in there. And when the videos came out, I did get a little bit of traffic from it, but honestly, I think lifetime I've made maybe like $2.18 in affiliate fees. So it's like you really need to be like you need to really be generating tons of traffic in order to make those business models work.
So much. And I've met with some other people. Like I love Rob Hope and my gosh, why can't I think of his website? Landing something. Oh my gosh, that's so embarrassing. Landing page website. Why can't I think of it? Rob, forgive me if you're watching this. One Page Love. Thank you. Had to go to your website.
Here, wait, I'll let you share your script. Are you looking at it right now?
Yeah, you're good. You're good. One Page Love. I've talked to Rob. You know, he's ran that site, and it's a website inspiration directory. He's ran it for 15 years or something like that, I think. And he had so many amazing insights around this, right? That like volume is key. Affiliate stuff's really hard. You know, like sponsorships or ads are doable, but like, again, tricky, or like I brought up even, there's some directories I found that you like Dribble or something, you would pay for, $5 a month or something just to see all the content and you gate everything else.
Mm-hmm.
I think that's still interesting to me. I just I always get stuck in this ethical side of like, I just want to share this stuff, y'all. I have a strong opinion about curation and I have a strong opinion about what is good web design or what makes a good no-code tool.
Yep.
To the point that I don't just share everything. Like people all the time, we get people that submit templates, like website templates, and I'm always just like, sorry, y'all. There's plenty of other places to share templates, and like, if there's one that's truly stand out, I have shared them before, but it's just like, I want to lean into that and share it freely.
Yep.
And so hopefully one day I'll find a better way to monetize, that feels right. But I don't know.
Just I honestly, I mean, I can relate to this so much through the YouTube stuff, because like the amount of people that, I get a lot of emails from people being like, hey, can you like review my tool or do like a tutorial on this? And I'm like, there's no way I'd go anywhere near that tool for my actual business. And
exactly.
Like, and so there was one time when I did do that. I'm not going to say what tool it was, but I did it, and I actually did. I said, like, if I'm going to like promote this tool, I'm going to like test it, use it on my business, all that kind of stuff. But I don't know, like it was kind of like, it's kind of weird when someone's like, hey, I'll pay you if you can like promote my product like that. So now I'm just pretty much like, I'm only gonna like have sponsored people on my channel if I actually use the tool. Like, but then again, it's like,
are you leaving money on the table?
I mean, to be honest, I mean, like with the YouTube stuff, I'm not too phased. I mean, it's not like the YouTube makes or break thing, but like, but I don't know. I mean, sometimes when, when someone, waves like, I mean, there've been people who have like offered like a reasonable amount of cash just for me to make a tutorial on it. And I'm like, I suppose, I suppose at some point, I'm just going to start recommending tools that are complete garbage, but are paying a lot of money.
Right. And I don't blame you. Like, I think one thing Max and I talked about too is like, if we ever did a YouTube channel for No Code Supply Code, maybe it's like, we will review any tool under the guise that like we will also give our honest feedback, trying to stay true to that. Like, so even if we don't like it or there's issues, like the tool has to be okay with that type of feedback being potentially shared versus like masking it to make it sound awesome when we don't actually use it or think it is, right? Like that's what's so tough.
Yeah. So funnily enough, I had someone, so I share that exact philosophy, and someone reached out to me being like, hey, we're looking for you to make a YouTube review on our tool, and we want it to be like completely, just however you see it and stuff like that. And so I'm like, okay, so just to be clear, it's an ad, okay, or it's a review, okay, but like, and so they're like, no, just like open to whatever you want to say. They paid me for it. I then sent them the draft of the video. The video never made it to YouTube. No, I wasn't being unfair about it. I wasn't being rude about it. But it, like you either want a review, okay, and you want me to be honest about your CMS. Webflow. No, I'm just joking. It wasn't. It wasn't Webflow. It wasn't Webflow. These jokes. Hey, I get called a Webflow shill so much, so maybe I shouldn't be making these types of jokes.
Yo, hey, it is not a shill. It is honest, good feedback. I'm always stoked to hear it if it's worth anything. Like, there's a billion tools out there. So if you don't like Webflow, people go use something else. Like, know.
I mean, for me, it's always like it's just a tool that works for me really well.
Totally.
But like, I mean, I don't know. You get on YouTube, you get in fights with people in the comment section. It's kind of good. I love it. I engage in it. Maybe I shouldn't mention that either. I'm really setting myself up for disaster in the comment section. All right. Last question. What is I feel like we've kind of talked about this just from this perspective of curation and stuff like that. But what is your process for when someone like submits a new tool or feedback or whatever it is that they want to do? How does that work?
Yeah, right now the form submission is just a Webflow form, and tactically it both goes to an email and to an Airtable table. And I thought I would always do it through Airtable. I always just respond an email,
Yep.
and then as far as the curated part or that, I'm looking at it in the same lens that if I came across this tool
Yep.
on some social feed or whatever, so I will judge it based on, does this look like it fits the directory in terms of content type?
Yep.
Does this have a bar of quality that I think aligns with the directory? And if it doesn't, I just simply share that feedback with the person that, like, sorry, this just isn't a good fit for our directory. Or if it is, I post it as soon as I can and respond and be like, it's live.
Yeah.
I think the other side, we've had people reach out and be like, yeah, like, how can I get this featured? And then if I give them the feedback that it doesn't fit, they're like, well, can I pay you? And then I'm always like, yeah, like, and again, full transparency, our base sponsorship is just $500 for a month, and it's featured on every post. So again, 2,000 plus, or sorry, every feed. So like 2,000 plus pages, and then one social post and one newsletter feature.
Mm-hmm.
And a lot of times that 500, although I've come to find out, is like very low in cost compared to bigger, sites with bigger amount of traffic.
Mm-hmm.
That's still enough, though, that it scares off the people that are really just trying to get a $10 feature or something, right? And
For
so
sure.
it's worked well as like a middle ground. Yeah.
And also, you sell one of those a year, and you've paid for your entire stack for the next 4 years.
Yeah.
So,
I don't know. It's funny, because I work at Webflow too.
Yeah.
I do have the benefit of I don't pay for Webflow.
Oh.
Thankfully, with all the bandwidth stuff Webflow comes with, right? Like,
yeah.
so the only tool really in that stack I pay for, I guess, two is Airtable and Zapier.
Okay.
But Airtable's not cheap, yo. Like, it's like $250 a year or something. And so, like, yeah, it's like, it adds up. But 100% to your point, I've had that exact same thought of like, I only need to get one or two of these a year.
Yeah.
And at least it takes the cost away, Yeah.
Fun story about Airtable. I think in my life I've maybe paid them like $40, and the rest has just been
what?
It's because in all of my videos I always leave my Airtable links in there, and they pay you like $10 at a time. It's like not a great affiliate program, but they don't pay you out. They just give you credit. And so the amount but they pay you for a sign up. So not even if someone ends up becoming a paying user for them. And so I mean, once a year, I just like log in, transfer like all of my credits over, and it's just like another year of like Airtable business for free. It's a mighty fine time, but
that's so great.
All part of the game. Corey, my man, I feel like this little 45-minute chat has turned into. I'm gonna have to turn this into like 5 YouTube videos.
Yeah.
Hey, I appreciate your time so much.
Build a directory.
I'm gonna send. I feel like I want to get you on for another one in the future. Just talk more about like design, branding, that kind of stuff, because I feel like that we haven't even really touched on all of that, and that's really where I think you shine. So maybe we'll do that in another video. But Corey, I appreciate your time. It's always so much fun talking to you about these things, and I'm just so stoked that you're killing it and just putting really good work out there.
Thank you so much for having me, man. It's been so fun.
All right, well, that was it for this short little video today. We'll be back with another one sometime soon. Other than that, I'll see you back for the next video. Bye.